know what really surprised me? And I've said it for years, and I finally just stopped saying it because it's not true. Because I said, oh, well, I'm not really woo-woo, but I kind of work in the woo-woo space. And what I learned about my entrepreneurial journey is to embrace the whole self. People try to, this is the business and this is me.
Yes.
And even in engineering, my approach, I would be out on the shop floor talking to the machine operators about, how can we make this easier? Whereas the other men would, I'm going to go make this fixture and make your life better. And then it didn't work, or the operator didn't have buy-in and it was a flop. But I was the one connecting, doing the woo-woo.
Right. You were doing the thing that you're doing now. You just didn't realize you were doing it.
So that's probably the biggest thing that surprised me, is to really bring all of who you are to your entrepreneurial journey and your business. And that is your secret sauce.
Hello, I'm Erin Marcus, founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, and I want to welcome you to Ready Yet? If all you needed was a step-by-step plan of what to do, you could buy a book on how to succeed and you would be all set. But here's the rub. You'll never do what it takes until you become the person it takes to do it. The Ready Yet podcast is dedicated to those who are ready to become the person who succeeds, ready to become the person who steps into more, and ready to become the best version of themselves. In the I'm Ready interview series, join me for inspiring conversations with people who figured out who they needed to be in order to achieve their dreams, and were brave enough to be that person.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I am particularly excited today because this is a long time coming. My guest today, Rachell Kitchen, is somebody I met a couple of years ago now. We sat next to each other at a networking event. I went, oh my gosh, I really like this person. And then as I've gotten to know you more and learn about what you do, I absolutely love not just what you do, but your ability to share your message, the way that you're able to explain things to people that not just make it understandable, but make it interesting. I could go on, but please go on, right? But why don't, we've done the inner work. We can take this in and just be happy, right? Right? But why don't you give everybody a little more formal introduction to who you are and what it is that you do?
Yes. As Erin said, my name is Rachell Kitchen, and yes, kitchen, just like in your house. And I am the CEO and founder of Level Up for Life Coach. And I work with women who are struggling with overwhelm, feel stalled and stuck in their business or career. And usually what I find is happening is they're dealing with what I call a gremlin, that inner critic. And so when they work with me, they get really clear on what that gremlin is, how to control it, so it no longer controls them, their life, or their business and career.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I know we can get started in a million different directions, but one of the things I really admire about your story is your background, right? Your corporate background, your high-performing background, and how it is you got to where you are now. Because it really is a diversion, right? It really
absolutely
was a left turn, right?
An upside down turn, I might even say. I'll give your audience the Cliff Notes version.
Yes, please.
In my previous life, I was an industrial engineer. And I did that for about 10 years or so. But then my youngest, my miracle baby, I call her, she was born at 24 weeks. And so my mindset at the time was that, I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and even give my man, what he needs as a man. And that was delusional, wrong and it caused a lot of stress.
Damn TV commercials.
Yes.
Right? Look at what they did to us.
We become what we are surrounded with and what we're told, and we never question it. And I was right there. I never questioned that I could do it all, and it just wasn't true, especially with the sick baby. So I ended up, out of necessity, still needing to work, and fell into a engineering consulting business. I did it all wrong. I didn't register with the state. I just kind of had my main client was my former employee. I picked up a few clients along the way. And then my then husband, he was, running for the brass ring in his career. So as a business owner, if you say you're going to be somewhere, you got to be. But if the baby's wheezing, what do you do? And there was tension and strife around what to do, how to manage that. And so I got to a point, our family did, where I didn't need to work. So I fell into the super, domestic engineer, stay-at-home mom role, but not.
Well, and what was that like for you? Because I don't have kids, but I have been through that journey with several friends, especially when you have a highly education-based career. Like, that didn't come easy. You had to work your way for that education.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was tough on so many levels, because you had the outside forces kind of, oh, you're just a stay-at-home mom.
After not just, let's face all of the reality of it. Not only was it a highly education requirement field, female of color of our certain age, right? So this isn't last year. Mm-hmm. And to achieve that and then walk away from it.
Yeah, it was tough. And that voice in my head, was believing the messages that I was receiving, that you're, somehow failing your ambition, and you're failing your knowledge and what you could be, and blah,
and you're failing your community by not being the beacon. My gosh.
Exactly. And then, of course, on the other side of that was, I can't do that and take care of my family at the same time. And it does mean something to raise good, healthy human beings.
Absolutely. And I don't know how any of you do it. I can barely raise a healthy, good looking cat, right? I don't know how any of you do it.
And quite frankly, I worked harder at being a domestic stay-at-home mom, a domestic engineer, than I did on any job, even in my engineering company, and even working full-time with an employer, because the high achieving person in me, I was not just cleaning house and shuttling kids. I was the state treasurer for the PTA. I was on this, that, or the other committee. I was running the finances for Friends Political Action Committee.
Well, just because your environment changed, you didn't change. What it took to achieve what you had achieved didn't go away.
Right. And then I had that voice in my head telling me, buying into these stories. So I had to, hustle for my worthiness.
Right. Instead of the God-given worthiness, just
because I exist. And so I did that for probably 15 or so years. And then this is what I call my concentrated chaos years, because here's what was happening. And this story. Within a little over 2 years, my 28-year marriage was crumbling right before my eyes. My dad was murdered. He was beaten in the streets of Chicago, and he died from his injuries a few days later. While the turmoil of facing, a long-term relationship ending, dealing with my dad's murder case, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. My mother-in-law, who I adored, was diagnosed with cancer. My youngest, my little miracle baby, was not only leaving the nest, but leaving the nest and moving across the country. And you sprinkle in a few breast cancer scares of my own, and I was just a hot flaming mess on.
Well, how could you be anything else?
Yes. Any one of those transitions can put people on their bump. Right. And so I always told my children, who do you control? You can only control yourself. So I got into a coaching relationship in the hopes of saving my marriage. But what actually happened is that relationship saved me. And not only did it save me in a way that got me back in touch to who I really was at my core, but it made me realize that, wait a minute, you don't have to go back into engineering at 50 plus. You can do what you already do naturally, because I was the go-to person for people and their issues. You can do what you do naturally and get paid for it. So I cashed in my IRA, found the best coach training school that I could find. And here I sit with my own business, coaching other high achieving women to create their lives so that their lives are not creating them.
And I think especially that high achieving female population is not that everyone's not stressed, not that everyone doesn't have, but there is a particular set of thoughts that high achieving women adhere to.
Yes, the perfectionist trap, the compare-itis trap. We are constantly comparing our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel, right?
Well, and there's something about, and I think it's changing. I think the younger generations will not do it the same way. Well, we know they won't do it the same way that we did it. But I know that in the times that we were raised, you did not become a high achieving woman in a collaborative sense.
No.
It was such a competitive, precarious situation that you almost don't stand the chance of it not falling apart.
Yeah. I mean, you remember the saying, you don't let your slip show, don't let them see you sweat. Remember those sayings? Again, those stereotypical cultural tropes that we all bought into, and we never questioned them.
No, because there wasn't a path to follow. There were no exceptions to follow from a representation standpoint, right?
Right.
The only people I ever saw, the only women I ever saw as successful were, okay, you got to have a couple years on me, but not that many. It was corporate in the 80s where we pretended to be men, right? Where we had ties and shoulder pads, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Because that was fun. Yeah. On my tiny little 5-foot frame, that's what I needed.
And your shoulders are out to here, yes.
That's a great look.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for me, add on being a person of color and a woman of color, I felt like whatever I did had to be top notch, not make any errors, perfect, because if I messed up, that ruined it for the ones who came behind me. And then the ones who were older, they looked to me as like the beacon. You've got to, be representing correctly.
Well, and there's some truth to your thoughts, because again, just as women then, you had to you had to work twice as hard to get half as far.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So in your entrepreneurial journey, what are some of the things that you've learned? Because knowing what you used to do for a living, I can completely see why you are so able to do, like what I said before that I admire about you, is your ability to break down this concept of a gremlin, make it visual, make it understandable. And it's the engineer brain of how do I take it apart, make sense of it all. But what did you learn about your entrepreneurial journey that just surprised you the most? Because I would imagine, I know my corporate experience and yours was even more, had to be strictly adhered to because of the content. Because this ain't nothing like having a job. Right?
No, not at all. You know what really surprised me? And I've said it for years, and I finally just stopped saying it because it's not true. Because I said, oh, well, I'm not really woo-woo. but I kind of work in the woo-woo space. And what I learned about my entrepreneurial journey is to embrace the whole self. People try to, this is the business and this is me.
Yes.
And even in engineering, my approach, I would be out on the shop floor talking to the machine operators about, how can we make this easier? Whereas the other men would, I'm going to go make this fixture and make your life better. And then it didn't work, or the operator didn't have buy-in and it was a flop. But I was the one connecting, doing the woo-woo.
Right. You were doing the thing that you're doing now. You just didn't realize you were doing it.
So that's probably the biggest thing that surprised me, is to really bring all of who you are to your entrepreneurial journey and your business. And that is your secret sauce.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that, because I work in a similar space where one of my expertise, because again, my own story as well, is former high achieving at a job at corporate who are now an entrepreneur, and they end up going, okay, I'm doing all the work. Why isn't it working? And it's such a opposition where in a business, in a job, when you have a job, you succeed by how well you fit into their box, which is completely opposite from an entrepreneurial journey where you succeed by how much can you embrace your authentic self.
Yes.
And then apply that authentic self in the service to others.
Yes.
People are drawn to your authentic self. And the word I keep coming up with is it's an unlearning.
It is. You're absolutely right. I love that word. It is an unlearning. It absolutely is.
Of what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And that's why we see so many entrepreneurs chasing this shiny object. Well, this guru said do this. This guru said do that. That guru said do that. And you can have the guruist, if that's even a word, guru
now.
tell you to do whatever, but if it's not in alignment with what you value and who you are, it's not likely to work.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I know I really enjoy having conversations about who you need to be in order to reach new heights. As founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, I work with my clients at the intersection where what they need to do to succeed meets who they need to be to do it. If you would like to have a conversation about your business, please reach out to me at Erin@conqueryourbusiness.com.
Well, and what we find, what I'm sure you find the way I do, is so many people, especially women, have never been taught or learned how to trust themselves.
Absolutely.
They don't know how to realize they know things.
Yeah. And we all have the answers at our core. It just might be that we're afraid to look, or that we don't know to look, as you said, or that we have been so programmed by the shoulds and have tos by all the outside sources. We don't know how to tone that out or turn down the volume so that we can hear that inner wisdom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you share a story. I've heard you share it from stage. You've shared it with me, that I find remarkable, if for no other reason than the fact that you remember the story and can connect the dots. And I'm always interested in the stories that we pick up from childhood, not just as the adults in our jobs and in our careers that we carry with us, but the gremlins that you create in your more formative years when you really don't stand a chance because we don't have the filter and the tools to decide what it is that we believe about yourself and what stopped you. And I'd love for you to share that with people, because it's such a great illustration of how an incident, a moment in time, can change your trajectory.
Yeah, and that's how we all come to the point where we are. Our past experiences that develop our beliefs and our values, and then we make decisions and are able to go for our goals or not based on those things. And so what had happened, and I didn't get this, like probably you can attest to, I was in the shower minding my own business, and this was downloaded to me when I was.
I need one of those like waterproof write-on boards.
Yes.
For my shower thoughts. Yeah.
And I was in the process of building my program around gremlins, and this came to me. And so what happened, I used to live with my grandparents in Solon, Illinois. And I was a brilliant, precocious little child, and I could recite and memorize anything. And one of my superpowers, and I was very young, I don't remember about what age, but I was school age, I could count by fives up to 100 without fail. You could wake me out of my sleep and I could do it. And so the teacher often, usually at the end of the day, that she was just frazzled and we're just waiting for the bell to put us all on the bus, she called me to the front of the class to count by fives. And I had done it before. I'm sure she expected me to do it again. And this particular time I messed up. And my mistake got me a brutal public paddling in front of the entire class. Now, mind you, I had never been on the other end of that paddling stick.
Well, and we could have a whole other conversation.
Yeah, that's a whole other ever, because I'm the perfectionist and I'm the rule follower, all of that. And so that was just devastating to me. And so I couldn't wait until I got home to tell my grandma what had happened, because I knew, oh, she is going to give Miss Pettigrew what for. But instead, she stood me in front of the mirror and had me practice counting by fives over and over again while she sat on the bed behind me watching. Now, she didn't do that because she was mean. She did that to protect me from future humiliation and consequence. But that shook me to my core. And I took that to mean that perfection, nothing but perfection is good enough. Value and validation come from outside of myself. And that was the belief that I moved forward with. And of course, we attract what we put out. So then I got similar feedback back to me, confirming and validating what this false belief that I already believed. Then fast forward in high school, remember the Anjali commercial that I was singing at the top of the show, that you got to be everything to everybody all the time?
That's perfectionism, and nothing less is even remotely okay.
And I took that into my young adult life and into adulthood, and all of these experiences had me so wound as tight as a drum that it was no wonder that one day when I got a call from the babysitter saying, hey, I'm getting ready to take the baby to the ER. She's, having some trouble. And the boss is telling me to take the meeting notes and do the girl stuff again, that I run off to the bathroom and I'm on the nasty bathroom floor crying as a result of the stress.
Yeah. And it's heartbreaking to me that more people aren't aware, right? That there's so many women, there's so many people, and I know there's a bunch of us out here shouting it from the rooftops, but they're not teaching this in school. Right. I didn't learn this type of stuff. I didn't learn how to heal those wounds. Mm-hmm. I didn't learn that the agency I thought I had over myself was minuscule compared to the agency I actually could have over myself.
Exactly. And that's powerful.
Oh my gosh. And here's the thing. I don't know if I was 16, when I was 16, when I was 20, when I was 25, should I really have been in charge of more than I was? Probably not. Probably not. But it's the ability to look back and share those stories that relate to so many people and use it as an example for like, okay, what do I do now that I know that? What do I do with it? How do I break through?
Yeah. And for me, and this is what I teach my clients, putting together those pieces, because if you can personify that inner critic and that gremlin, then you can have a heightened sense of awareness when it shows up, because your gremlin is deeply embedded. It knows you better than you know yourself. But having awareness about it and knowing when it's on the scene, trying to wrench the steering wheel away from you, will allow you to, one, take what I call, acceptance about it, and then take responsibility. And when I say responsibility, I'm not talking about blaming yourself and pointing the finger at yourself.
No, it's the good side of responsibility.
I'm talking about your responsibility, your ability to respond differently and in a way that serves you and helps you meet your goals.
How are you? One of the things that I have been working on a lot lately is what I'm now calling my relationship with money. I have an MBA in marketing. I have all the tactical things, right? We've got the tactics down. I know how to grow a business. And I know that my next levels are all going to come through breaking through my limiting beliefs, especially and particularly around money. And so I've been doing all of these exercises, which I avoided. Like, I thought I was doing the work, and then I went and I got some new advice about other work, and I avoided doing that work. And I think it takes a certain level of courage to be willing to look at these things.
It absolutely does. And I love what you said, that you thought you were doing the work, but you really weren't.
Somebody asked me a deeper question and I went,
and I describe this to my clients, and I talk about it all the time. A lot of women can relate to the big purse, where you've had this big purse that you love and you carry it everywhere, and that's just like your go-to bag. And think about it, when you finally, maybe at 2 or 3 years, like, God, this thing is bearing my shoulder down, I need to clean this out. And you start to clean it out. And then you realize, oh my God, that was in there. And you deal with that. Then you go and do some more digging. Oh my goodness, that was down in there. And that's what this process is. We have, from our experiences, what we've been told, our own beliefs, familiar cultural beliefs, they get all piled in the bag. And eventually we hit a point where we are spinning because the bag is heavy. And if you don't have someone to come along and say, girlfriend, you got to clean out this bag.
Right.
And then once we clean it out, then, oh, that was down in there. And then that's scary to deal with. I don't want to deal with those dog cookies with the hair all over them. I don't want to touch that.
I have to tell you this because it's just so freaking funny and a coincidence. As I'm listening to you, all I can think about is, and the weird stuff that you find in your purse. So I was literally just got back from Florida, spending a week with my mom, and we were shopping at Coconut Point in Fort Myers, which is a high-end mall. And my mother goes to pay for something, and as she opened her purse, I'm 52. You can imagine how old she is, right? She's got a chunk of salami in a Ziploc bag in her purse.
And that's the unexpected thing that was like smelling, and you just didn't know that was in your life, that you didn't even know was there, but that was some angst.
Right. And all I could say is, please tell me you are not going to eat that. Right. But that's exactly it. When you least expect it, you find some crazy random thing that is messing you up. And what I have found is, can you just be brave enough to take a peek?
Yes.
Can you just be brave enough to take a peek at what might be a story, at what might be an opportunity, so that you can get a win and build momentum? Because what I have learned one of the things I embrace is momentum is magic. Like, guys know this from watching football, right? When the momentum switches and the other team's got momentum, right? Momentum can just work miracles.
Absolutely. And here, and that you said that, this brought this up, and I don't know, people who are listening won't be able to see this, but maybe you guys can see that. This is in my book, Doubt Your Doubts: How to Transform That Negative Self-Talk, Take Action, and Confidently Create Your Dream Life. And this I found through the research when I was doing the book. And it speaks volumes. It's graphic because of that stuff that we're afraid to do. We want to, that gremlin wants to keep us in our comfort zone. That's its main goal, to get your butt back in your comfort zone. But if we can be comfortable with being uncomfortable long enough, we can move out of that fear zone into that learning and growth zone where we get momentum.
Yeah.
We learn new skills. We set new goals.
Builds, right? It builds exponentially.
Yeah, and these circles, and it starts rolling and rolling, and you're like, whoa, how did that happen?
And it's a little bit easier every time, little bit easier every time, little bit easier every time.
Because that expansion, every time we do it, the comfort zone is bigger. And so when you hear people say, oh, tame your gremlin and tame your, sorry, I'm here to tell you that's BS, because if you're going to continue to grow and set new goals, you're going to face the same thing, but you want to have the tools to be able to navigate and recognize when it's trying to wrench the steering wheel from you and take charge.
Exactly. Become that observer. So if someone wants to continue this conversation with you, and I highly, highly, highly recommend that they do, and learn how they can figure out what their gremlins are. And I know you have something to offer the listeners as well. What is the best way? I know you're not hiding, but what is the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Well, they can go to my website, and that is levelup4life.coach.
Oh.
Yes, .coach. And then I would love to give your listeners a free guide on how they can uncover and start to peel back the layers that have built up over the stories that they've been told, the beliefs that they've been listening to, and they can get that at getfreeguide.coach. And I'm sure you'll put this in the show notes.
It'll all be in the show notes. And tell us again the name of your book, because I absolutely love it.
Yes, it's Doubt Your Doubts: How to Transform Negative Self-Talk, Take Action, and Confidently Create Your Dream Life. And you can get that where books are sold: Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Woohoo.
Seriously, Rachell, thank you so much for spending time with me. I know we could probably do 6 more episodes. Maybe we will.
Absolutely. I love spending time with you, Erin.
And this has been absolutely amazing. And thanks for sharing all your truth and your story. And I think people need to know that there's like magical things available on the other side.
Absolutely. We get to choose.
Choose. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Ready Yet podcast. I get so motivated by the amazing accomplishments of the remarkable people I meet, and I'm excited to be able to share some of their stories with you. You can find more episodes of Ready Yet at your favorite source for podcasts or at conqueryourbusiness.com. And if you've already decided that you are ready to become the person you need to be to achieve your big goals, feel free to reach out to find out how I can support you in your efforts. Or check out the Work with Erin page on the Conquer Your Business website. I also invite you to share this podcast with anyone you know who loves to learn and be inspired. And if you're so inclined, I'd be absolutely grateful for any reviews you'd like to share as well. Thanks again for joining me. This has been Erin Marcus, hopefully inspiring and helping you to go conquer your big dreams.